You feel too much, you overthink insults, you hesitate when disrespected, you lose sleep over people who wouldn't notice your absence. And because of this, you lose power, you lose leverage, you lose everything that matters. You were taught a lie early in life. They told you that feeling deeply makes you human, that expressing emotions makes you authentic, that reacting proves strength. Machiavelli would have smiled at this lesson because it creates followers, not rulers. Emotional detachment is not emptiness, it is discipline. It is the ability to stand in fire and feel no urge to scream. It is the power to be unmoved. When others are desperate for your reaction, look closely at the world. Who rises? Who survives betrayal, competition, humiliation, and pressure? Not the most emotional, not the most expressive, but the most controlled. The moment you react emotionally, you hand over information. Your anger tells them where to strike. Your fear tells them where you are weak. Your excitement tells them what you desire. An emotional, detached person reveals nothing. This is why silence frightens people, because silence gives no clues, no leverage, no entry point. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who cannot govern himself will never govern others, and emotions are the first rebellion within a man. When someone insults you and you explode, they learn they own you. When someone ignores you and you chase, they learn they control you. When someone praises you and you soften, they learn how easily you can be guided. Detachment cuts these invisible strings. To feel nothing is not to lack humanity, it is to choose when to display it. Powerful men do not eliminate emotion, they delay it, they store it, they decide if and when it serves their strategy. Think of every moment you lost control, every argument you didn't need, every reaction that cost you respect, every emotional decision that weakened your position. That was not fate, that was undisciplined. Feeling. The emotionally detached individual does something rare. He observes himself, while others drown in themselves. When anger rises, he notices it but does not obey it. When fear appears, he examines it but does not surrender to it. When desire speaks, he questions its cost. This inner distance creates outer dominance. People mistake calm for confidence, confidence for strength, strength for authority. That is why calm individuals rise in chaos. They are mistaken for leaders long before they claim leadership. Machiavelli understood perception better than morality. He knew that appearing unshaken often matters more than being virtuous, because perception governs loyalty, fear, and obedience. When you feel nothing, you do not rush decision. You do not defend your ego. You do not seek validation. You calculate. Emotional people seek relief. Detached people seek results. This difference changes everything. In negotiations, the emotional man wants agreement, the detached man wants advantage. In conflict, the emotional man wants to be right, the detached man wants to win. In loss, the emotional man mourns, the detached man adapts. Detachment makes you unreadable. People are dangerous because no one knows what you will tolerate, no one knows what provokes you, no one knows how far you will go. This uncertainty forces others to hesitate, and hesitation is power. You are not obligated to react to every word, you are not required to explain every silence. You are not weak for refusing to engage emotionally. You are strategic. Machiavelli would say that men who display their hearts openly invite conquest because enemies do not attack armor, they attack exposed flesh. Emotions, when visible, are exposed flesh. This is why rulers appear cold. This is why commanders remain composed in disaster. This is why those at the top often seem distant. They are not detached from reality. They are detached from impulse. Impulse serves the crowd. Control serves the crowd. To feel nothing in critical moments is to buy time, and time is the rarest currency of power. While others react instantly, you observe. While others speak, you listen. While others panic, you plan. Detachment slows the world down around you. And when the world slows, you see patterns others miss, motives others hide, weaknesses others reveal without knowing. This is why emotional detachment is not passive, it is predatory. It allows you to let others expose themselves, their jealousy, their desperation, their insecurity. They speak too much, they move too fast, they overplay their hand. You do not. You wait. You remain neutral while storms pass. You remain composed while alliances collapse. You remain still while rivals exhaust themselves. And slowly, silently, control shifts. Not through force, not through emotion, but through restraint. A man who feels everything is easy to lead. A man who feels nothing is impossible to predict. And in a world ruled by manipulation, unpredictability is dominance. This is the first law of winning everything. Detach internally, so you cannot be ruled externally. The battlefield is not always visible. The enemy is not always a man standing before you with a sword or a scheme. The first conquest begins within. Before you can dominate others, you must dominate yourself. Before you can control circumstances, you must control your mind. Machiavelli knew this truth centuries ago. He understood that a ruler who loses his own composure, who bends to desire or fear, will never bend the world to his will. The external world is merely a reflection of the inner. Chaos outside comes from chaos inside. Victory outside comes from mastery within. Consider this: the man who reacts impulsively to slights or setbacks is already defeated. He surrenders to circumstance. He allows others to shape his reality. Every insult he takes personally, every failure he laments, every desire he indulges, every fear he entertains, each one is a chain linking him to forces beyond his control. Those who command the world first command themselves. They regulate thoughts, suppress impulses, and measure reaction. They do not allow passion to dictate strategy, nor anxiety to dictate action. They know the world will not wait for their feelings, and they learn not to wait either. Imagine a ruler walking into a room filled with rivals. His face is calm, his voice measured, his gaze unreadable. The room senses his presence not because he dominates with words, but because he cannot be moved. Nothing rattles him, nothing entices him, nothing frightens him. His inner world is a fortress, and from that fortress, he dictates the outer. To control the inner world is to observe without interference. When temptation comes, you do not rush to indulge it. When anger arises, you do not rush to vent it. When doubt strikes, you do not rush to flee it. Instead, you witness it. You examine it. You wait. Every reaction is calculated. Every action is deliberate. This is discipline disguised as serenity, patience disguised as stillness. Most people fail because they confuse experience with control. They believe being present means being reactive. They believe intelligence is knowing facts, but intelligence is knowing yourself. Presence is mastery. Your own impulses. The external world bends only to the one who has tamed the internal. A man who rules his mind can navigate treachery without panic. He can endure betrayal without desperation. He can exploit opportunities without greed. He does not fall for the tricks of envy or the snares of ambition because he sees them before they take root. Every thought is weighed. Every emotion is measured. Every desire is questioned. Will this serve me or betray me? The key is detachment from the uncontrollable. You cannot dictate the actions of others, but you can dictate your response. You cannot shape chance, but you can shape preparation. You cannot prevent insult, but you can prevent offense. The outer world is an unpredictable theater. Your inner world is the stage you command. When your inner stage is fortified, you move through chaos as though it were ordered, and what appears as fortune is simply the reflection of your control. Machiavelli wrote of princes who fell not because enemies were stronger, but because they were unsteady themselves. They could not make decisions without doubt. They could not act without hesitation. They allowed their advisors, their passions, and their fears to guide them instead of their reason. And in that gap of indecision, power slipped from their hands. Control of the inner world is also control of perception. Calm is misinterpreted as confidence. Restraint is misinterpreted as superiority. Observation is misinterpreted as insight. When you master your inner world, the outer world projects illusions for you to exploit. The weak red weakness, the emotional red urgency, the undisciplined red chaos. But the one who controls himself is invisible until he chooses to be seen. To achieve mastery over the outer world, one must predict reactions by first understanding inner impulses. People act from desire, fear, pride, greed, envy, and ambition. If you know your own impulses, you can anticipate theirs. If you have conquered doubt, hesitation, and distraction within, you can manipulate strategy outside. Your moves become a series of calculated pressures, your silence a weapon, your patience a trap. Every great strategist in history, from the battlefield to the court, understood this law intuitively. They trained the mind as one would train an army. They disciplined thought, fortified attention, and resisted the chaos of emotion. Their victories began long before the first sword was drawn or the first word was spoken. Their dominion was internal first, external second. Control of the inner world is not absence of thought. It is mastery of thought. It is the ability to filter impulse, to prioritize intention, and to remain unwavering under pressure. It is the difference between reacting to life and shaping life. The weak are swept away by tides they cannot predict. The strong create currents the others cannot resist. and the origin of that current is always internal. The river of influence begins in the mind flow. WS into action and carves valleys of power in the world. Those who fail to master themselves are enslaved by circumstance, while those who do silent, patient, untouchable command fortune, opportunity, and ultimately the obedience of men. The inner world is the first kingdom. Conquer it, and the outer world bends to your will. Mercy is a poison dressed in virtue. It is applauded by the weak, praised by the sentimental, and mistaken for strength by those who have never wielded power. History is filled with men who fell because they could not act with the cold precision that strategy demands. They believed that leniency preserved loyalty, that kindness inspired obedience, that compassion would secure their position. Machiavelli would have called this a fatal error. He understood that mercy, when misplaced, is the enemy of power. Mercy appeals to emotion, but strategy is not guided by emotion. Strategy is guided by calculation, by foresight, by understanding the consequences of action. Every act of mercy is a compromise. Every compromise is a crack in the armor of authority, and every crack can be exploited. The ruler who allows sentiment to dictate decisions is like a general sending soldiers into battle with one hand tied. You must ask yourself, does sparing a rival ensure loyalty, or does it embolden him? Does forgiving betrayal restore allegiance, or does it signal weakness? Every action has consequences beyond its immediate appearance, and mercy often produces the exact opposite of what is intended. History rewards those who act decisively and without hesitation. Look at the men who maintained empires, who carved kingdoms, who ruled in chaos. They did not pause to consider the comfort of the defeated. They did not linger over wounded pride. They acted, and their decisions were final. The emotional satisfaction of mercy never shaped nations. Calculated ruthlessness did. Mercy is a performance for the benefit of the observer, not the strategist. When you are merciful, the world watches and interprets. Some see virtue, some see indecision, most see opportunity. Human nature is predictable. The weak ask for more mercy, the ambitious take advantage of it, and the perceptive learn to exploit it. A single act of leniency can unravel years of careful planning. Consider the problem of betrayal. When a subordinate or rival betrays you, your first instinct may be to forgive, to appeal to reason, to hope for reconciliation. This is the instinct of a man who places morality above power. The strategist, however, understands that betrayal must be met with consequence. If left unpunished, it encourages further treachery. If met with decisive action, it establishes boundaries that cannot be crossed. Mercy, without calculation, is permission for others to encroach upon your authority. Mercy also weakens your own resolve. Every time you override strategy for the sake of feeling, you train yourself to hesitate, to doubt, to allow sentiment to interfere with judgment. This is far more dangerous than any rival outside your walls. The greatest threat is not the enemy in front of you, but the indecision within. Strategy requires clarity, precision, and the absence of remorse for necessary action. Compassion in leadership may inspire loyalty among those who are already loyal, but it rarely sways those who are ambitious, envious, or disloyal. Power is not won through gratitude, it is won through respect, fear, and the certainty that actions have consequences. Mercy, misapplied, undermines this structure. A ruler who is kind in the face of betrayal or weakness invites the world to test him, to probe the limits of his authority, and to discover that those limits exist. The illusion of mercy is seductive because it feeds the ego. It feels good to act with leniency, to soften the blow, to offer forgiveness. But strategy is not concerned with comfort. Strategy is concerned with results. It does not pause to measure morality or emotion. It acts decisively, and it does so without hesitation. Every delay, every indulgence, every act of kindness that is not calculated erodes power. Even mercy to allies must be measured. The favor shown to one must not embolden him beyond reason. The aid given must not weaken your position or diminish your authority. Every gesture must have purpose. A strategist knows that generosity without design is indistinguishable from weakness. When mercy is shown strategically, it is a tool. When it is shown impulsively, it is a liability. Observe every empire, every court, every battlefield where men have fallen despite skill or ambition. Time and again, leniency has led to downfall. The weak survive by appealing to kindness. The strong endure because they do not rely on it. The ambitious test the limits of mercy, and when mercy is granted, they cross boundaries, take advantage, and ultimately undermine those who offered it. Machiavelli did not advocate cruelty for cruelty's sake. He advocated clarity of consequence. He understood that cruelty, when calculated, maintains order. Mercy, when uncalculated, invites chaos. The strategist does not act out of anger, nor does he act out of vindictiveness. He acts because action is required. To act without hesitation, without moral distraction, is to act effectively. Mercy also confuses the perception of strength. Others do not read the motives of compassion, they read the effect. If you hesitate where decisiveness is demanded, they perceive weakness. If you forgive where punishment is necessary, they perceive opportunity. If you show leniency to those who would challenge you, they perceive vulnerability. Power is maintained not by good intentions, but by visible consequences. In strategy, hesitation is as dangerous as inaction. Mercy, when improperly timed, creates hesitation. It forces decisions to be reconsidered. It invites questioning. It softens the will. The strategist eliminates hesitation by choosing clarity, by acting without distract. Ion, by letting nothing interfere with the objective. To survive, to dominate, to win in a world of rivals, you must learn to separate morality from necessity. You must understand that mercy is not inherently virtuous when it undermines results. The decision to show leniency must be guided by calculation, not feeling. In every choice, ask yourself, does this strengthen my position, or does it weaken it? Does this reinforce my authority, or does it invite rebellion? Every answer guides the strategist, every hesitation empowers the opportunist, and every misapplied mercy can shift the balance of power against you. Indifference is the quietest form of power, yet it is the most feared. It is the force that disarms opponents, unsettles allies, and leaves rivals exposed in their own weakness. Those who wield it appear untouchable, unbothered, and impossible to read. They move through the world not with emotion, not with reaction, but with calculated neutrality. And in that neutrality lies dominance. Machiavelli understood that men are disturbed not by action alone, but by the unpredictable absence of reaction. Indifference is the tool that creates that disturbance. The indifferent man does not grant others the satisfaction of attention. He does not react to insult, flattery, or provocation. When attacked, he does not respond. When praised, he does not elevate. When challenged, he does not betray interest. This absence of response is a weapon because it shifts the burden to the OT. In uncertainty, men reveal themselves. They overreach, they overexplain, they overcommit. Indifference forces them to expose motives they would otherwise hide. Human beings are drawn to emotional signals. They crave reaction because reaction confirms significance. When someone reacts to their words, their actions, their manipulations, it validates them. They feel powerful, and they begin to test limits. Indifference removes this validation. The indifferent man offers no confirmation, no reward, no reaction. He becomes a void, a mirror reflecting only the other person's intentions and weaknesses. Indifference is not apathy. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of strategy. On the contrary, indifference is the most active form of control because it dictates the terms of engagement without giving away leverage. The world seeks to provoke you because the world thrives on reaction. Anger, pride, desire, and fear are tools used against the emotional man. The indifferent man takes those tools and lets them fall useless to the ground. He becomes immune to manipulation because nothing can sway him unless he chooses it. Consider the effect of indifference in conflict. The man who ignores an enemy's provocation gains control of the battlefield before a single move is made. The instigator, desperate for acknowledgement, overcommits. Every insult that goes unanswered becomes a trap. Every attempt to bait is wasted effort. The indifferent man watches, waits, and capitalizes when opportunity presents itself. He has the advantage because he acts not out of feeling but out of calculation. Indifference also reshapes relationships. Allies who expect favor, attention, or agreement learn restraint in the presence of someone untouchable. Rivals who seek to dominate or manipulate are forced to approach with caution, unsure of what they can provoke. Even strangers perceive the same neutrality and instinctively measure their action. Indifference imposes boundaries without confrontation. It asserts authority without speech. It is the quiet, invisible chain that binds others to your terms. Machiavelli understood the psychological impact of indifference. He observed that men are often defeated not by strength alone, but by uncertainty, hesitation, and unreadability. When your opponent cannot predict your reaction, he is compelled to move first. When your subordinates cannot guess your priorities, they act more cautiously. Indifference generates tension, and tension produces advantage. Those who are indifferent dictate the tempo, the stakes, and ultimately the outcome. Indifference requires mastery over impulse. It demands that you separate perception from reaction. You must be able to witness offense without offense taking root. You must hear insult without anger, praise without vanity, pressure without panic. This detachment is not weakness, it is armor. Every reaction avoided is a shield. Every provocation ignored is a barrier that preserves your strength for the moment when action truly matters. The indifferent man also controls attention. In a world desperate for influence, attention is currency. By withholding attention, he reserves power. He decides who is worthy of engagement, who is worth his time, and who is merely noise. Indifference allows him to conserve energy, focus resources, and act decisively when the stakes demand it. Others burn themselves in reactive displays, exhausting influence on trivial matters, while the indifferent man remains untouched, strategic, and ready. There is a profound irony in indifference. Those who pursue the indifferent often reveal more than they intend. Enemies betray intentions, allies expose ambitions, and casual observers reveal desires. Every interaction becomes a test of character for the other, a lens that magnifies weakness. Indifference creates this lens by denying engagement. The world, desperate for acknowledgement, performs its own mistake for you to exploit. Indifference is also a measure of freedom. The man who is moved by nothing can move anything. He is not enslaved by approval, desire, resentment, or fear. He is unbound by expectation and untethered from distraction. While others are dragged by the currents of emotion, he navigates the waters with precision, calm, and certainty. In a storm of chaos, his mind remains the anchor, and his will remains the rudder. Every empire, every court, every battlefield bears witness to the power of indifference. Those who appear untook head often strike with the most devastating effect. Those who seem disengaged often hold the greatest leverage. Indifference hides intention, preserves strategy, and magnifies the consequences of action. To wield it effectively, you must train restraint, embrace patience, and master the art of observation. Indifference transforms the world around you because it forces others to act on your terms. It destabilizes those who rely on emotional feedback. It exposes ambition, weakness, and desire. It creates space for strategy, timing, and opportunity. It is a weapon of silence in a world of noise, a tool of control in a world of chaos, and a mark of dominance in a world desperate for reaction. Power is not given, power is taken, seized, and maintained by those who understand the laws of control, strategy, and perception. To feel everything is to be ruled by everything. To be ruled by impulse, by anger, by desire, by fear, is to surrender your life and your victories to forces beyond your control. The path to dominance begins within. Emotional detachment is your shield. Control of the inner world is your command center. Mercy without calculation is a trap. Indifference is your ultimate weapon. Each of these principles is a pillar of authority, and together they form the architecture of invincibility. Those who master themselves are untouchable. They observe chaos without panic, betrayal without anger, and opportunity without greed. They move through the world as though the current tides of fortune obey them, because in truth they do because they have first bent themselves to mastery. The world tests every man. It provokes, it deceives, it tempts, and it punishes. The majority react, they are consumed, but the strategist, the ruler, the one who feels nothing, stands apart, unshaken, unpredictable, unstoppable. To feel nothing is not to be cold or cruel for the sake of it. It is to act with clarity, to preserve your power, to strike when necessary and withdraw when prudent, to observe, calculate, and dominate. The mastery of emotion is mastery of circumstance. The mastery of self is mastery of all else. Those who understand these truths do not simply survive, they win. They bend the world to their will, while others chase shadows of influence. They remain calm in chaos, decisive in conflict, and inexorable in pursuit of their objectives. The question is simple. Will you continue to be led by feeling, or will you take command of your mind, your actions, and your destiny? Will you allow the world to move you, or will you move the world? The choice is yours. The power is within reach. To feel nothing is not emptiness, it is everything.